the silent twins. When I first heard of June and Jennifer Gibbons, I was a young journalist, eager to make a name for myself. The story of twin girls who had created their own world, who communicated in a language only they understood, was too tantalizing to resist. I didn't know back then how deep and dark the story would go. I didn't know that by the end I'd be left with questions I was too afraid to answer. The Gibbons twins were born in the early 1960s in Wales. From the moment they could speak, they were different. They communicated with each other in a rapid, indecipherable babble. At first, their parents thought it was just a phase, a quirk of childhood. But as the years passed, the twins grew more isolated. They refused to speak to anyone else, teachers, classmates, even their parents. The only time they seemed to come alive was when they were with each other, locked in their own secret world. It wasn't long before people in their small town started talking. Whispers of witchcraft, of curses began to circulate, but I didn't believe in any of that. I was young, rational, determined to find the truth. I managed to track down one of their old teachers, Mrs. Evans. She was reluctant to speak at first, but after some coaxing, she began to talk. Her voice trembled as she recounted her memories of the twins. They were unnerving, she said, her eyes distant. The way they would just sit there staring at each other, moving their lips silently. It was as if they were communicating without words. And then there were the drawings. Drawings? I asked, leaning in closer. Mrs. Evans nodded, her hands trembling slightly. They used to draw these disturbing pictures. Dark, violent images. I remember one in particular. It was of a house burning, with figures trapped inside, screaming. The details, it was as if they had seen it with their own eyes. The more I dug into the twins' past, the stranger it became. They were inseparable, but their bond was not one of love. It was something darker, more sinister. They began to act out, committing petty crimes, vandalism, arson. They were eventually sent to Broadmoor Hospital, a high-security psychiatric facility. That's where things took a turn for the truly bizarre. I decided to visit Broadmoor myself to see if I could learn more. The hospital was a cold, imposing structure, filled with the echoes of the damned. As I walked through the dimly lit corridors, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was thick with a sense of dread, as if the walls themselves were closing in. I was led to a small room where I met Dr. Harris, the twins' former psychiatrist. He was a gruff man, his face lined with years of dealing with the broken and the mad. When I mentioned the Gibbons twins, he looked at me with a mixture of pity and something else. Fear, perhaps? They were unique, he said, choosing his words carefully. Their bond was unlike anything I've ever seen. It was almost as if they shared one soul between them. Dr. Harris went on to explain how the twins had continued their strange behavior in the hospital. They would spend hours sitting together, their lips moving in silent conversation. But the most unsettling part was their writing. They kept diaries, meticulously detailed accounts of their thoughts, their dreams, their fears. And in those diaries, they spoke of a presence, something dark and malevolent that followed them everywhere. They called it the shadow, Dr. Harris said, his voice barely above a whisper. They believed it was watching them, controlling them. And then, one day, Jennifer stopped writing. She became withdrawn, almost catatonic. A few weeks later, she was dead. The official cause of death was a sudden, unexplained heart attack. But the timing was too coincidental, too perfect. It was as if Jennifer had known she was going to die, as if she had willed it to happen. Before I left Broadmoor, Dr. Harris handed me one of the twins' diaries. "Take it," he said, almost as if he was eager to be rid of it. "But be careful, there's something wrong with it." That night, in my hotel room, I opened the diary. The pages were filled with cramped, frantic handwriting, the words spilling over each other in a chaotic rush. As I read, a sense of unease settled over me. The diary was a window into a mind teetering on the edge of madness. And then I reached the final entry. It was dated the day before Jennifer's death. "I can't take it anymore," she had written. "It's too strong, it wants me, and I can't fight it. But maybe if I go, it will leave June alone. I pray that it will." I slammed the diary shut, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I had stumbled onto something far darker than I had anticipated. And as I sat there, in the silence of the night, I felt it. A presence, cold and malevolent, watching me from the shadows. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me from Broadmoor. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jennifer's last words scrawled across the inside of my eyelids. "It wants me, and I can't fight it." The unease that had settled over me was impossible to ignore, as if the walls of my hotel room were closing in, suffocating me. Morning couldn't come fast enough. As the first light of dawn filtered through the curtains, I made a decision. I had to learn more about the shadow that Jennifer had written about. What was it that had driven these twins to such extremes? What had taken Jennifer's life? I returned to the small Welsh town where the Gibbons family had lived. The house where the twins had grown up stood at the end of a long, narrow lane, surrounded by dense, overgrown woods. It was an old, decaying structure, abandoned and left to rot. The windows were broken, the paint peeling away in large, sickly patches. It looked like a house that had seen too much, that had absorbed too many dark memories. The door creaked open with an eerie slowness as I pushed it, the sound echoing through the empty halls. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew. The floorboards groaned under my weight as I made my way through the house. There were signs of the Gibbons family everywhere. Old photographs on the walls, discarded toys in the corners. But it all felt frozen in time, as if the house had been holding its breath since the day they left. I found the twins' old bedroom on the second floor. It was a small, cramped space with two identical beds on either side, the sheets still neatly tucked in, as if waiting for their occupants to return. On one of the beds, I noticed a small, worn-out notebook. My heart raced as I picked it up. The pages yellowed and fragile under my fingers. It was another diary, but this one was different from the one Dr. Harris had given me. The writing was more erratic, more desperate. It was filled with drawings, twisted nightmarish images of shadowy figures, faceless and menacing. The words that accompanied the drawings were fragmented, almost nonsensical. "It's here," one entry read. Asterisk, asterisk, watching, waiting. I see it in the corner of my eye, but when I turn, it's gone. But it's always there. It wants us. It wants me. I felt a chill run down my spine as I continued to read. The entries became increasingly frantic, filled with pleas for help, for escape. And then I reached the final page. Asterisk, asterisk. I can't stay here anymore. It's too close. It's inside me now. I can feel it, crawling under my skin. I have to leave. I have to go. The words were smeared as if written in a panic, but the message was clear. Jennifer had been terrified, convinced that something, the shadow, had possessed her, had taken control. Suddenly the room grew colder and a sense of dread washed over me. I glanced around, half expecting to see something lurking in the shadows, but the room was empty. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something was in the house with me. As I made my way back down the stairs, the silence of the house became oppressive. The air felt heavy, thick with something unnameable. I wanted to leave, to run out of that house and never look back. But something stopped me. Curiosity, perhaps. Or maybe it was the same force that had kept the twins trapped in their own nightmare. In the hallway, I noticed a small door that I hadn't seen before. It was half hidden behind a tattered curtain. My hands trembled as I reached for the doorknob. It was ice cold to the touch. The door led to the basement, a dark, musty space filled with old boxes and forgotten furniture. As I descended the stairs, the darkness seemed to close in around me. The only light came from a small window near the ceiling, casting long, eerie shadows across the room. In the far corner, something caught my eye. An old, decrepit mirror, its surface covered in dust. I approached it cautiously, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. As I wiped away the dust, my reflection stared back at me. But there was something wrong. The shadows behind me seemed to move, to twist and writhe as if alive. I turned around, my heart pounding in my chest. But the room was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, I saw it. A dark figure standing just behind me. Its form was indistinct, but I could feel its malevolence, its hunger. I spun around again, but the basement was still empty, the figure nowhere to be seen. But I knew deep down that it was there. It had always been there, watching, waiting. A sudden crash echoed through the basement, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. I turned towards the source of the noise. One of the boxes had fallen over, spilling its contents across the floor. Among the debris, I noticed something glinting in the dim light. It was a small silver locket. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. The locket was engraved with the initials, JG. I opened it carefully, revealing two small, faded photographs, one of June and one of Jennifer. The sight of their faces, so young and innocent, sent a pang of sadness through me. But that sadness quickly turned to fear as I noticed the inscription inside the locket. Asterisk, asterisk, together in life, together in death. I didn't need any more convincing. I bolted out of that house, leaving the locket behind, and didn't stop running until I was safely back in my car. But even as I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, that something had followed me. Something dark, something hungry. And as I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw it again. The shadow, lurking in the back seat, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. I swerved off the road, my heart racing, but when I looked again, it was gone. Or perhaps it had never been there at all. Perhaps it was just a figment of my imagination, a manifestation of the fear that had taken root deep inside me. But I knew better. I knew that the story of the Gibbons twins was far from over. The drive back to my hotel was a blur. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, my mind racing with what I had just experienced. The shadowy figure in the back seat, the inscription in the locket, everything pointed to something far more sinister than I had ever imagined. I couldn't stop thinking about the twins, about Jennifer's tragic end, and the presence that seemed to linger around their lives like a dark cloud. Back in the safety of my hotel room, I tried to rationalize what had happened. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, fueled by the eerie atmosphere of that abandoned house. But deep down, I knew there was more to it. I felt it in my bones, in the creeping dread that wouldn't let me rest. That night, I sat down with the diary Dr. Harris had given me, flipping through its pages once more. The words seemed to leap off the page, taunting me with their cryptic messages. As I read, I noticed something I had missed before. A pattern in the entries, a sequence that repeated itself over and over. "It's coming! Asterisk, asterisk, I can hear it. It's here." The entries were always followed by a period of silence, where Jennifer would write nothing at all, as if she had been consumed by whatever she was describing. And then inevitably, she would return to the same ominous refrain. I stayed up late into the night, piecing together the fragments of the twins' lives, trying to understand the connection between them and the force they called the shadow. But the more I read, the more elusive the truth became. It was like trying to grasp smoke, always slipping through my fingers. At some point, exhaustion overtook me and I drifted into a restless sleep. That's when the dream started. In the dream, I was back in the Gibbons house, standing in the darkened hallway. The walls seemed to close in around me, the air thick with the scent of decay. I could hear a faint whispering, like the rustling of leaves. But there were no trees, no wind, just the oppressive silence of the house. I turned, and there they were, June and Jennifer, standing at the end of the hallway. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide and empty. They didn't move, didn't speak, but I could feel their presence like a weight pressing down on me. And then slowly, they began to walk towards me, their movements jerky and unnatural. I wanted to run, but my legs refused to move. I was rooted to the spot, helpless as they drew closer. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of voices overlapping, filling my head with a maddening chorus. "It's here! It's here!" The twins were just inches away now, their empty eyes boring into mine. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. And then, in unison, they raised their hands, pointing towards something behind me. I forced myself to turn, and there it was. The shadow. Asterisk, asterisk. It was no longer just a figure in the mirror or a fleeting image in the corner of my eye. It was real, standing right behind me, its form shifting and writhing like a mass of living darkness. It had no face, no features, just a pair of glowing red eyes that burned with a malevolent intensity. It reached out for me, its fingers elongated and sharp, and as it touched my shoulder, a coldness unlike anything I'd ever felt seeped into my bones. My vision blurred, my body convulsed with terror. And then I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. The hotel room was dark, the only light coming from the dim glow of the alarm clock on the nightstand. I lay there for a moment, trying to catch my breath. But the sense of dread lingered, gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. I glanced at the clock, 3:33 a.m., the witching hour. I sat up, rubbing my eyes, trying to shake off the remnants of the nightmare. But something was wrong. The air in the room was thick, suffocating, as if all the oxygen had been sucked out. And then I noticed it, the mirror on the wall. It was the same mirror from the Gibbons basement, the same one where I had first seen asterisk asterisk the shadow. Asterisk asterisk. I froze, my blood turning to ice. This couldn't be happening. It was impossible. But as I stared at the reflection, I saw it again. The shadow asterisk asterisk, standing just behind me, its red eyes glowing with malicious intent. I turned quickly, expecting to find nothing, but this time, it wasn't just a trick of the light. The figure was there, looming over me, its form more solid, more real than ever before. It reached out again, its fingers grazing my skin, and I felt a jolt of pure terror shoot through me. I scrambled out of bed, knocking over the lamp in my haste, and ran to the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if something was holding it shut, trapping me inside the room with that thing. I could feel it getting closer, the coldness spreading through the room like a living entity. Desperate, I grabbed the diary from the nightstand and flipped through the pages, searching for something, anything that could help me. The pages blurred together, the words becoming unreadable. But then, at the very back of the diary, I found a single phrase, scrawled in a frantic hand. Asterisk asterisk burn it. Burn the diary. It's the only way. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the lighter from my bag and set the diary alight, watching as the flames consumed the pages, turning them to ash. As the fire grew, the coldness in the room began to recede. The oppressive presence of asterisk asterisk, the shadow asterisk asterisk weakening with every flicker of the flames. And then just as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone. The room was still, the air warm and breathable once more. I collapsed onto the floor, my body shaking with the aftermath of fear and adrenaline. But as I sat there, watching the last embers of the diary fade into darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. The Gibbons story had taken a dark turn, but there were still too many unanswered questions. What was the shadow ? Why had it attached itself to the twins, and now to me? And most importantly, how could I stop it before it claimed another victim? One thing was clear, I couldn't turn back now. The story was far from finished. And whatever lay ahead, I had to see it through to the end. Days passed after my confrontation with the shadow in June's cottage. But the fear lingered. I had returned to my life, tried to move on. But something inside me had changed. The world seemed darker, more oppressive, as if the very air carried the weight of something unspeakable. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched. That the shadow hadn't truly left. The nights were the worst. I would lie awake, listening to the creaks and groans of my house, convinced that any moment I would see those glowing red eyes in the darkness. Every time I closed my eyes, I was haunted by the memory of that final blinding light, of June's disappearance. I kept telling myself that it was over, that I had won. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. And then one night it happened. I woke to the sound of whispering. At first, I thought it was just a dream, a remnant of the nightmares that had plagued me. But as I lay there, I realized the whispering was real, soft and insistent, like the rustling of leaves in the wind. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. The room was dark, the shadows long and deep, but the whispering continued, growing louder, more urgent. It was coming from outside my bedroom door. I didn't want to move. Every instinct screamed at me to stay where I was, to pull the covers over my head and block out the sound. But something drew me towards the door, some invisible force that compelled me to get up, to face whatever was waiting for me. The hallway was pitch black, the only light coming from the faint glow of the moon through the windows. The whispering grew louder as I stepped out of the bedroom, a cacophony of voices overlapping, filling my head with a maddening chorus. I followed the sound, my feet moving as if on their own, down the hallway and towards the stairs. The air grew colder with each step, the familiar chill of the shadow creeping over me. I knew deep down what was happening, but I couldn't stop myself. The whispering led me to the front door, which stood slightly ajar, the cold night air seeping in. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I knew that whatever was out there, whatever had brought me here, was something I couldn't escape from. But I had to know. I pushed the door open and stepped outside. The night was unnaturally quiet, the whispering suddenly silenced. The street was empty, the houses dark, as if the world itself had been drained of life. I turned to close the door behind me, but then I saw it. Standing at the end of the street, shrouded in darkness, was the shadow . It was more real, more solid than ever before. Its form no longer just a mass of darkness, but something almost human. The red eyes glowed with an intensity that made my blood run cold, and I felt that same malevolent energy crackling in the air, stronger than ever. But there was something else, something that made my heart nearly stop. Standing next to the shadow was June, her face pale and expressionless, her eyes empty. I tried to call out to her, to move, but my body wouldn't respond. I was frozen in place, trapped by the sight of her and the shadow together. And then slowly, they began to walk towards me, their movements synchronized, deliberate. I stumbled back, my mind racing. This couldn't be happening. I had destroyed the locket, severed the connection, but as they drew closer, I realized the horrifying truth. The shadow hadn't been destroyed. It had simply found a new host, June. I watched in terror as they approached, my mind screaming at me to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. The bond between June and the shadow was stronger than ever, and I could feel its malevolence, its hunger, pulling me in. And then, as they stood before me, the shadow reached out, its fingers elongated and sharp, like the claws of some terrible creature. June's eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something in her gaze. Recognition, fear, maybe even a plea for help. But it was too late. Before I could react, the shadow's hand clamped down on my throat, its grip like ice, and I felt the coldness seep into my body, paralyzing me. The world began to blur, the edges of my vision darkening as the coldness spread. As the shadow pulled me closer, its red eyes burning into mine. And then, just as I felt myself slipping away, I heard it. A voice, faint and distant, like a whisper in the wind. "Run!" It was June. Her voice, weak and desperate, breaking through the darkness, through asterisk, the shadows hold on me. I could see her now, her face contorted in pain, in fear, as she struggled against whatever force was controlling her. Run, before it's too late. With every ounce of strength I had left, I wrenched myself free from asterisk, the shadow's grasp, stumbling back towards the house. My body felt heavy, sluggish, as if the coldness had seeped into my very bones, but I forced myself to move, to run. The moment I crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind me, and I collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. The whispering had stopped, the coldness receding, but the terror remained, gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. I knew now that I couldn't fight the shadow asterisk. It was too powerful, too ancient, its hold on June too strong. But I couldn't just leave her, leave them, to whatever fate awaited them. I had to do something. I had to end this once and for all. With trembling hands, I grabbed my phone and dialed Dr. Harris's number. He answered on the third ring, his voice groggy with sleep. "It's me," I said, my voice shaking. "I need your help. It's not over. The shadow asterisk. It's still here, and it has June." There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and then Dr. Harris spoke, his voice grim. "I was afraid of this," he said. "I'm on my way. Don't do anything until I get there." I hung up and sat there in the dark, my heart racing. I didn't know what Dr. Harris could do, what any of us could do against a force like the shadow asterisk. But I had no choice. I couldn't let it win. I couldn't let it take June. Take me. The hours passed like an eternity. The silence of the house broken only by the sound of my own breathing. I kept expecting to see the shadow asterisk appear in the corner of the room, to feel its cold grip on my throat once more. But it never came. Finally, just as dawn was breaking, I heard a car pull up outside. I rushed to the door and opened it, finding Dr. Harris standing there, his expression grim but determined. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his voice low. I nodded, my resolve hardening. "I have to be." Dr. Harris led me to his car, where he opened the trunk and pulled out a small, worn leather case. He opened it to reveal an assortment of strange, ancient-looking tools, symbols etched into metal, vials of liquid, and a small, intricately carved dagger. "This is our only chance," he said, handing me the dagger. "We have to sever the bond between June and the shadow asterisk. But you have to be the one to do it. You're the one it's attached to now." I took the dagger, the weight of it heavy in my hand. I didn't know if I could do what needed to be done, but I knew I had no choice. If I didn't, the shadow asterisk would consume us all. We drove in silence back to the street where I had seen the shadow asterisk in June. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the pavement, but the street was empty, eerily quiet. We got out of the car and approached the spot where I had last seen them. I could feel it, the presence of the shadow, lingering in the air, waiting, watching, and then as if out of nowhere they appeared. June and The shadow asterisk stood in the middle of the street, their forms almost blending into the darkness. June's eyes were empty, her expression blank. But I could see the struggle within her, the fight against the force that had taken hold of her. Dr. Harris stepped back, giving me space, his face tense with concentration. "Now," he whispered. I stepped forward, the dagger clutched tightly in my hand, my heart pounding in my chest. The shadow asterisk didn't move. Its red eyes locked onto mine, as if daring me to come closer. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage I had left, and lunged at the shadow asterisk. But just as I brought the dagger down, the shadow asterisk shifted, moving with impossible speed. It wrapped itself around June, using her as a shield, and I froze, the dagger inches from her heart. For a moment, everything was still, the world holding its breath. June's eyes met mine, and I saw the fear there, the desperation. I knew what I had to do, but my hand wouldn't move. And then June spoke, her voice barely a whisper, filled with pain. "Do it, please." Tears filled my eyes as I realized what she was asking of me. I didn't want to be the one to end her life, but I knew it was the only way. The only way to save her, to free her from the shadow's grasp. With a cry of anguish, I plunged the dagger into her chest, feeling the resistance as it sank deep into her heart. The shadow asterisk let out a terrible, ear-piercing scream, its form unraveling, dissolving into the air like smoke. June's eyes widened in shock, a single tear rolling down her cheek. As she collapsed into my arms, I held her close, my heart breaking as her life slipped away. As the bond between her and the shadow asterisk was finally severed, the silence that followed was deafening. The sun had fully risen now, the street bathed in a golden light, but it felt hollow, empty. June was gone, and with her, the darkness that had haunted her all her life. Dr. Harris approached, his face somber, and gently took the dagger from my hand. "You did the right thing," he said softly. "It's over now." But as I looked down at June's lifeless body, I wasn't sure. The weight of what I had done, of the life I had taken, pressed down on me, suffocating me. The shadow was gone, but at what cost? We buried June in a quiet, unmarked grave, far from the town, far from the place where the shadow had first found her. As we laid her to rest, I couldn't help but feel that her story, their story, wasn't truly over. As I stood there alone, in the early morning light, I felt a cold breeze brush past me, whispering through the trees. I knew I would never forget what had happened, the darkness that had taken so much. But I also knew that I had to move forward, to live with the choices I had made. I turned to leave, but just before I walked away, I heard it. A faint whisper carried on the wind, almost imperceptible. "Thank you." I didn't look back. I couldn't. Instead, I walked away, the weight of the past heavy on my shoulders, knowing that I had done what needed to be done. But the memory of the shadow of June, would haunt me for the rest of my days. And as I left that quiet grave behind, I couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, in the deepest corners of my mind, the shadow was still there, watching, waiting, biding its time, because some darkness never truly dies.